score is we need to space these lessons out. And that was the idea behind the weekly visits. If you just sit down and practice for 6 hours, you would improve. And your score from the start and your score from the end of that 6 hours would be better. But the idea with that is that that's a short-term gain. That's an immediate improvement just right then. What we're out for is long-term learning. And you know, you've heard people say, if I ride a bike, you know, once you learn how to ride a bike, you've always got that. That's kind of a long-term learning thing. You have that ingrained in you and you learn how to do that. Whereas if you just did something 6 hours straight, you wouldn't retain that knowledge and that ability.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're trying to do is get you to retain what we teach you so that you can be, again, successful with this. So the spacing, the S of the score, is spacing. So we've spaced it out once a week for you so that you can have that opportunity to space and learn the long-term learning as best you can. The C is challenge. Every time you come, we're going to challenge you with something. If you just practice the same thing over and over again and didn't increase in challenge, then the learning isn't as effective. So we want you to be challenged each time you come, and that way you're learning something and you're retaining something better.
Mm-hmm.
And the R is randomness. You'll notice that we've got things designed up here, the sessions that you're doing, the practice sessions, and it's not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know, it's 1, 4, 3, 2, 5, 1, 5, 3, 2, 4, 1, 5, 4, 3, 2. We've got it randomized.
Mm-hmm.
And that studies have shown that if you randomize these things and don't just stick with the same thing one after the other, you have increased learning with that. So with that, we've got the score. We've got the spacing it out. We've got the challenge each week and the randomization of the challenge.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're going to be doing each week that you come is we're going to allow you to practice. But after you've practiced for about a half hour of your time, then we're going to do an assessment each time you come. And the assessment is part of the challenge, because we've also learned that when somebody is tested and tested routinely, they have better improvement over what they're trying to do. So each week that you come, you're going to practice some time. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about the deliberate practice. I think you might remember when we talked about that at the presentation, the deliberate practice versus just practicing.
Mm-hmm.
After you've practiced, then we're going to go through the assessments. And the assessments are not randomized. They're going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just as the, and when you program in, you'll see that these are preset for you. Okay? So these practice sessions are going to be in this order. You'll have to look up and see what order it is for each week that you come.
Mm-hmm.
And then the assessments are going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So again, keeping in mind the way that we're talking in terms of the most effective way of learning what we're trying to teach you.
Mm-hmm.
In addition to what we're doing on the machine, another thing that we're going to do is we're going to ask you some questions when we're done each week. And we're not going to necessarily ask you the questions. We're going to give you a notebook so that you can record your answers to these questions.
Okay.
And basically it's going to be, tell me about the practice session. What was effective for you in the practice session? Tell me your general impression of it. Anything that comes to mind as far as, all right, yeah, it's kind of noisy today. Or I wasn't feeling as good as last time. Or, boy, this really went well. Just your general overall assessment.
Okay.
The second question is going to be, what went particularly well for you? What did you say, man, I'm knocking this part out?
Mm-hmm.
Then the next question is going to be, all right, what didn't go particularly well? What can you improve on? And you'll think about, okay, you know, as I'm looking at the scores, and we're going to do this when we're done today, we're going to look at your scores. And we're going to see that as we're scoring in certain areas, what areas did you not score as well in other areas?
Mm-hmm.
So these are the areas that you're going to answer that question with. And then the final question is going to be, all right, what specifically am I going to do to improve
Mm-hmm.
in the area that I felt I didn't do as well?
Mm-hmm.
And with that, we'll give you some hints on how to approach that and how to look at that more effectively. And then what we're going to have you do, we've got a lot to have you do, is to take a picture of your answers, because we're going to keep the notebook. And the reason we're going to keep the notebook is that our experience is if we let them leave the door, sometimes they don't make it back.
Mm-hmm.
And you lose your notebook. We don't want you to lose your notebook. we want you to take a picture of it. And once you take a picture of it, what I want you to do is every night before you go to bed this week, I want you to read what you've written. And I want you to think about what you've written. And if you think of anything else, add that to it the next week when you come back. Because we want you to be very deliberate in how you approach what you're doing. I don't want you to just come and kind of zip through these things. I want you to think about what you're doing. And I want you to apply those corrective measures as to what you do. Because learning happens in like 3 different sections. First, when you come here, you've got a cognitive phase. And what that means is you're going to be looking at it, you're going to be thinking about it. And I'll say, okay, I got to move this way, and if I do this, it goes again. And you're thinking about what you're doing. And then the second is what we call an associative phase. And what you're doing then is you're starting to apply those things that you wrote down, right? How am I going to improve this? You're going to associate that action with improved results. And then finally, after practicing over a period of time, spacing it out as we said, what you're going to do is it's going to be autonomous. Eventually, you'll get to the point where you don't have to think about what you're doing.
Mhm.
That your brain has developed and your brain has learned these processes, learned these steps, to where it becomes almost automatic. And that's what we're working towards. That can't happen in a 6-hour session.
Right.
That has to happen over time, with practice, with challenge, with randomness.
Mhm.
So it all kind of fits together, but you have to appreciate the process, because not many people understand that. Not many, we've had people say, well, I can come and do this, just give me the time and I'll knock it out. Well, yeah, but you won't retain it, and it won't do you any good over time. Because over time is how you're going to be the best dentist you can be.
Mhm.
It's not going to be overnight. Okay? So
Okay.
we'll work together on this. I'm going to show you how to get into it and how to use it.
Okay.
And then we'll let you practice, and then we'll assess, and then we'll
Okay.
talk about your efforts for the day.
Okay.
Okay? So the first thing I want you to do is, on the username over there, or let me show you a couple things on this, I'm sorry. This has a couple adjustments to it. This button right here allows you to raise this up and lower it.
Okay.
Okay? So what we want you to do is get this in a comfortable position where you're not having to lean over like this too much, that you're sitting up straight and you are looking down into this without bending your neck an awful lot. So whatever it takes up or down to get you in that position. Okay? And then another thing, when you work with the handpiece, we're going to use what's called a modified pen grasp on the handpiece. I've actually seen people kind of grab this thing like this, thinking they're going to work like that.
Mhm.
The idea is to kind of take a modified pen hand grip and get close to the head of it, like this. You want to turn this part down. Are you right-handed?
Yes.
Okay, good. Turn it, this is the working end of the burr right there. So you want to
Okay.
you want
Where
to
the
get your,
circle is?
yes, that's the working end, and that's got to face down.
Like this.
Yeah. So you want to try and get your fingers close to the end of it. See how I have it resting like this? And then another thing you're going to do is rest these fingers on that bar.
This right here?
Yeah, and that's called a finger rest. And that's really critical in dentistry, because trying to move something like this, a controlled environment with my arm or my finger not rested on something, is very hard to control. And you'll realize that as you start to work, is that you're going to have good finger rest to make this work for you. Now, one of the things that sometimes this bar doesn't do for you is have a good position for your finger rest. And if you find that you need a different position, what you can do is this button right here on the side, is you can push that in and this bar comes out.
Okay.
And you can move that bar into whatever position you'll need to adjust it to get a good finger rest for you. Okay?
Okay.
And these are things that kind of, as you work, you'll say, I can't get a good finger rest where that position of the bar is. You might need to use 2 hands to do that. Push that in with one, and then those fingernails are going to make it tough for you, aren't they?
It's not coming
You got to push it in hard. And let me show you. All right? Because see, these teeth in here engage. You got to disengage the teeth
Okay.
and then turn that, and it'll lock into one of those positions. All right? So as you learn and develop that, you'll realize and appreciate, all right, I need a different finger rest position to stabilize what I'm doing,
Okay.
okay? All right, so the first thing I want you to do to register into the Simodont is hit username, and then put your first initial of your first name. And how do you spell your last name?
Lowercase.
All
we should
lowercase.
do that. That's our fault.
Yeah, all lowercase.
Okay.
All right, and what's your last name?
Brown.
B-R-O-W-N. Go ahead and put that. And how do you spell your first name? Go to password now. Hit password.
Alexis.
A-L-E-X-I-S.
Yes.
X-I-S Brown. B-R-O-W-N. And I'm gonna let you go in. I'm not gonna try and go in on yours at the same time. And then just hit log in.
All right, now you can put in your own password.
Now you can put A Brown for your username.
But she doesn't have to do
Oh,
that. Put whatever
it's already
password
in?
you want in there.
Yeah,
That's
put
fine.
whatever password you want. And I'm gonna log in under my name over here so I can show you what I'm doing.
Have you shown her the mirror yet, Dr. Callan?
Not yet.
Okay.
We'll get there. Okay, so exercise 1-1 should be on your screen, is it?
Yes.
Okay, so what I want you to do is tap exercise 1-1. And then on the upper right hand side it says treatment execution, hit that. So on all of these we have it preset for you. So you don't
Okay.
have to change any adjustments. The only thing you're gonna have to do with this is on the upper right hand side, see that plus sign?
Yes.
Alright, I want you to touch that until that 100% reads 250. Okay?
Okay.
This right here is a little toggle switch that allows you to adjust that block that's in the screen. That right there? So it's like a joystick in a game. What you want to do is you want to position that block in the best position that you find works for you. So let's say I've got it right in this position here, so you can see what you're working with?
Yes.
Alright, this block has a, see that right there?
Okay.
That's what you're working with. Now, have you ever played the game Operation?
Yes.
Okay, so this is dental operation. You see the red?
Yes.
Okay, the idea is to take the red out. You see the green?
Yes.
The object is don't touch the green. Take your handpiece and hold it in the modified pen grasp that we taught you. And bring that handpiece into the screen.
She doesn't have her glasses on
Glasses.
now. Oh, Alexis. Put these on, it'll probably help.
And move that into the screen. Can you see it?
Can I see my handpiece?
Yeah, look inside, push it until you can see the handpiece.
Okay.
Alright, see it?
Yes.
Now, you see the burr on the end of the handpiece?
Yes.
What I want you to do is just take that burr and tap it on the block. Just tap it. Can you feel it?
Yes.
Ah, you did it, I caught you. You looked underneath there. So basically this gas pedal right here, the rheostat,
Yes.
get that in a comfortable position for you on the floor. And what you need to be doing is pressing that down. Alright, there you go. So the idea is when that burr turns, you're gonna be taking that red out and not touching the green. And you can take this little joystick and move that block any way you wanna move it, at any time you wanna move it,
Okay.
to see the red better.
Okay.
Okay? So that's the primary objective of what we're doing. In all of the 5 blocks that we're doing, you're going to remove the red and don't touch the green. So if you look at your screen up here, you've got something that says target. See that?
Yes.
Alright, the target is the red. The idea is to get all the red out up to 95%. You see where that line is? On that target line?
Yes.
with the check, that's 95%. That's as far as we want you to go, but we want you to get to 95%, okay?
Okay.
You see where it says on the left side, it says leeway bottom, leeway sides?
Yes.
The leeway is the green. All right, container bottoms, container sides, that's what's around the green. You don't want to touch the container, because if you touch the container at all, and I mean just a little nick, your score goes to 0. But your overall score is going to be the target, how much of the target you remove, less the leeway bottom and sides that you touch.
Okay.
So if you get 95%, but you touch 5% of the bottom and 5% of the sides, you're going to end up with an 85 score.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yes.
Okay. So let's go back. Now this is going to be tricky, because this is something that's not on the machine that I've got at the school, but it's working differently. If you want to start this block over and
Mhm.
practice this one block again,
Mhm.
what you would do is hit restart treatment.
Okay.
Go ahead and do that. And it says, do you really want to restart treatment? Yes, I really want to restart treatment. And what's going to happen, it's going to say fail to restart the treatment.
Mhm.
That's a little glitch that we're going to get fixed. But what you have to do to get back to this one, or get back to the screen where it has all 5 of the blocks, you want to hit results. And then you want to hit submit. And say yes. And then you're going to have to come back and hit submit again. And we're going to get that fixed. Hit yes. And now you're back to all of them.
Okay.
Okay? So let's go. The first 3 blocks are just different shapes of what we call direct vision. And what direct vision means is that you're looking straight down. Once you adjust this with the toggle, you're looking straight down on what it is you want to operate on.
Mhm.
The last 2, 4 and 5, are what we call indirect vision. And let me show you those. If I go to 4, you can go to 4 as well. Treatment execution. And then you want to go to that plus on the left-hand side and bring that up to 250. Okay? Now, if you use that toggle, you'll find that you can't move that to where you can see the block. It won't move around for you. See what I'm talking about?
The block?
Yeah, you can't move the block to where you can see the object.
Mhm.
So what you're going to do is you're going to take this right here and hold it like this. Hold it kind of like that modified pen grasp again, like this. Okay? And then pull that away and bring that into the screen where you can see.
Okay, gotcha.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
Now, as you're holding it that way, you're going to have to turn this to where you can see the object that you're trying to work on. Can you get it there?
Yes, it's just so weird.
Mhm.
Okay.
You know, that's what we call indirect vision. Now you got to take the handpiece and do the same thing with it. Go ahead and thump on it one or 2 times so you know where it's at. And then you got to be able to look in the mirror and remove the red without touching the green.
Is the block in the right place?
It's going to be, you're not going to be able to turn the block where you can see the thing.
Oh, okay.
The only way you're going to see it is looking in the mirror.
Okay, like this. Okay, that makes sense.
Mhm. Exactly.
Okay.
See what I'm talking about?
Yes.
And now you're going to have to move that burr and work on that X without touching the green.
Okay.
Okay? So blocks 1, 2, and 3 are direct vision. Blocks 4 and 5 are indirect vision.
And you remove it by stepping on the rheostat, which will spin your high speed hand piece, which will start beating. There you go. Just practice like that for a second. See how it works.
And that red has both width and depth to it.
Okay.
So you can go too far.
Go ahead and burr it into the block there, just touch the red.
Further in.
Yeah, the first thing you wanna do is tap on that block so you know where it's at. You gotta get to the block first, cause it won't cut unless it touches the block.
Is it cutting?
Nope, you feel it now?
It looks like it's cutting.
You
Well,
feel
you can feel it if it's cutting.
Okay, yes.
Feel the difference?
Yes, I do.
And what you feel, that's that haptic that we talked about. That's the sense of touch and feel. So when you practice, what I want you to do, you know, at least maybe the first time you practice, is just to go ahead and push that burr all the way in and feel what it feels like to go too far. Because you got to know where the limit is.
I think I went too far when I
No,
see the green.
you didn't quite.
you're supposed to see green. That's the
Oh,
idea.
okay.
You're supposed to get to the green, not go through it. If you go through the green, you're going to get to the container, and then your score will go to 0. See the difference? But the idea is to remove all the red, or 95% of the red, and don't touch the green. You can get to the green, just don't touch it.
Just don't touch much of it.
And as you're removing the red, your target score is going up. Okay? So that's really all there is to what we're doing.
Okay.
So what we want you to do is, if you look at week number 1, session number 1 practice, we want you to go through the blocks in that order.
Okay.
You're doing outstanding, actually.
Yeah, you were doing
Doing
really
well.
well.
Thank you.
So is there anything else, Dr. Callan, before we get started with our formal session that you
I
want to
think
share with
that-
everybody on the video?
I think we're good.
All right.